back to another episode of the HeyUSA podcast. My name is Nick Garcia, senior reporter at PlayUSA. Yeah, got to get it right. And with me, as always, is Brant James, lead writer at PlayUSA. Brant, it's a hot one here in Chicago, but I always got to ask, how are you doing?
Doing very well. Coming off vacation a week or so ago. Had a black bear in my car, which doesn't happen every day. I think the tourism board did that just so I would talk about it. And, you know, all bear enthusiasts will want to go to the place I was in Tennessee, but everything's going well. We're in the dog days. No football yet, just rumors. Yeah. Baseball's chugging along. So off we go.
Tampa Bay finally got a W in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So
yeah, we've talked about this before, and go watch our video with Eric Erlinson from last week. I still find the Lightning inevitable. They look like total dog stuff. They look slow. They were making mistakes. I still think they're going to win the series because they're just inevitable. The NHL may end. That may be how the Lightning dynasty ends. The NHL collapses.
Yeah. As we did say last week, you know, we are in those slow months. There are a few things that are happening. One of the important things for those people down in the Midwest is Iowa signed a new gambling bill. Not super crazy for those thinking that new features or amenities are coming to the state, but there is one thing with this bill that was signed by Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, and that is that people placing sports bets can now bet on things like who will win the Heisman Trophy and who will be Super Bowl MVP. It won't be in place in time for the NBA draft, which is on Thursday, but going forward, Iowans, what are they called down there, Brant? Do you know?
Yes.
Hawkeyes will be able to bet on these type of non-sporting or events that aren't impacted by play, but, you know, Heisman Trophy winners, again, Super Bowl MVPs, Cy Young winners in baseball that are coming up. They'll have the chance to bet on these as well as charity golfing events like The Match, you know, that usually has a celebrity paired with a pro golfer. So they'll be able to place those type of bets moving forward. So it's a pretty good thing. The one downside to the bill is that it did block new casino development for 2 years. There was a story that I wrote that I'll link in the description below, where Cedar Rapids was looking to get a new casino built. They had a $250 million proposal, but signing of the bill effectively shuts that thing down till 2024. So no new casinos. It will stay at 19 for the state, but you do have the ability to bet on the Cy Young winner and the Super Bowl MVP.
It's going to be huge. I'm sure they'll be throwing some money at some Hawkeyes, not wisely, for those Heisman trophies. And 19 casinos. I mean, that's, you know, some folks are 1 in 21, but an Iowan specifically and a Midwesterner in general just loves a nice long drive. So they can find a casino for now for the next couple of years if they choose, I hope.
Yeah. Segueing into Iowa and states that people have placed bets in, have you placed a bet in Iowa on your little roadmap on trying to knock off every state with sports betting?
Yes, I did. My last visit to your wonderful state of Illinois, visiting the in-laws in Quincy, sort of down there in the corner. Missouri's over the Mississippi here. Then I was up there one day when I got a little bored, took a little jaunt. Again, just like going to the grocery store in the Midwest. It was about an hour and a half up to Keokuk, Iowa. Just lovely that time of year. Was able to cross the border, set up shop in a little diner, waited for the Sportsbook of Choice's little geo-comply node to land on my computer. And as I recall, I made an unsuccessful bet on the Tour de France, because what else would you bet on when you're in Iowa? So I was able to cross that one off with a great bicycling bet.
What is the latest state that you were able to cross off your list?
Yes, you are a segue machine today. A couple of days before I almost got eaten by the bear. Maybe we'll link my YouTube video and the photograph of that bear was actually in my car. And I don't want a small bear in my car, but this is a large bear in my car that rooted in there, pulled out a bag of peanuts and shared it with her cubs. So I'm lucky to be frickin' alive.
and you're gonna sit there and eat it. No!
Hey, no, don't chew the car.
Where was I? Oh, yes. On the route to beautiful Gatlinburg, Tennessee, I was lucky enough to trot through Cherokee, North Carolina, middle of absolute nowhere. Stopped into the casino there, the tribal casino, Harrah's Cherokee Casino and Resort. And I wasn't expecting much out there on the edge of the empire. I was expecting a bit of a dingy place, but the place was borderline spectacular. There were no Davy Crockett's and Daniel Boone's and women in frontier frocks. There was a Gordon Ramsay restaurant. There was a Guy Fieri restaurant. And it was wonderful. It was clean. Yeah. There was no smoke whatsoever. And I wrote a review of it. We'll link that. Then I went into the very back to the Cedar Sportsbook, and I made 3 bets to cross off North Carolina, bringing me to 15 out of the 31 or 2 that are live and underway. And in essence, I left some money with the Cherokee tribe, the Eastern Band of Cherokees in North Carolina and the state of North Carolina, because all of my bets lost. But that's not the point, mister. Point is I crossed off another state.
That is. Speaking of North Carolina, I wrote a story again. We'll link all these in descriptions, but there should be a review of an online sports betting bill in North Carolina this week. That state is currently trying to get online sports betting up and running. As Brant mentioned, they do have retail sports betting at 2 casinos there in the state. But there's a couple of lawmakers that are pushing to try to get online sports betting. We know that's the future. We know that a lot of neighboring states, Tennessee, Virginia, have it. So for now, those customers in North Carolina have to hop across the border to place bets. But yeah, we'll keep you posted on that update. That should be developing soon. They got till the end of the month, basically, when their legislative session ends. So we will be keeping an eye out on that. Moving on, Brant. What else do we got on the list?
Speaking of states with betting and not betting, the World Cup sites came out for 2026 last week. Can't ever really start talking about the World Cup too early, 2026. Yeah. It's only 4 years away, but it's more interesting than usual for us because the United States, Mexico, and Canada are sharing the bid, and the United States landed 11 of the 16 sites. And if it was to happen today, only in 2 of those venues being, that one venue in New Jersey, you could place legal sports bets there, and Philadelphia, because Pennsylvania has statewide mobile sports betting and retail, of course. But a lot of the other very large sports tourism states, namely Florida with games in Miami and California with games in Los Angeles, and for that matter, Massachusetts with games at Foxborough, nothing yet. Massachusetts seems to be way closer. They seem to get so close. Every single year hasn't happened. Florida and California, they might be pushing it. If they have sports betting, it could be pushing it to get it there on time.
Las Vegas didn't get on that list, did they? No, the Raiders.
They did not. They did not. There was a couple of venues that were a surprise. Nashville, sort of the belle of the ball. It's a big tourism spot. They're actually building a new stadium for the Titans, which might or might not be done then. Now that I think about it, they didn't get it. Cincinnati was a bit of a wild card. They've got a reputation of a soccer hotbed. It didn't work out either. But yeah, that's where we are. It's a lot of the typical spots. But, if folks think they're going to be able to go to these games if they were today and make sports bets, nope. They're going to be indulging, especially all the Europeans that come over, big betting culture. They're going to make bets. You think about the monies that, New York is making all the money. I don't know. And New Jersey, I don't know how they could make any more. It's funny. The games are at MetLife. That's in New Jersey, but New York lends its name to this bid, although there's no games there. The states with the games, if they have a sports betting option there at the time, they're going to make a whole bunch of money, and California and Florida currently aren't there right now.
I could see AT&T Stadium, home of the Cowboys, got a bid, and I could see Louisiana benefiting from that, people choosing to stay in like Shreveport area and take the 4-hour, I believe it's like 4-hour trip over to Dallas. But that's going to be could you imagine if Texas was able to get something over the line. They won't be able to do that in time, but had they done so last year, I can only imagine the boom that they would have had during, the World Cup.
Incredible. Well, think about Texas. They only meet every other year. They've only got a couple of legislative sessions to go. These other states, if they suddenly realize that there's going to be a lot of currency coming in, maybe they can get to it. But it's not like Texas. Texas might be its own country by then anyway. It might be a U.S., Canada, Mexico, Texas bid. Who knows?
Yeah. Speaking of, as Segway King here, going into places to bet, one of the institutions that doesn't want to be associated with betting is college campuses, per one of your articles. Is that correct?
Yeah, the trend has been growing. It's been growing slowly, but a lot of sports books have made sponsorship deals with colleges. It started with PointsBet and the University of Colorado. That was in keeping with PointsBet building its U.S. headquarters in Denver. They've made a big commitment. All the colleges, all the colleges that make deals with sports books, there's always going to be a responsible gambling component. That was the precedent set by PointsBet. They also plan to do a lot of recruiting, they say, because that area is a huge hub for tech talent, and sports books require coders and eggheads and nerds to turn their numbers into bets. Later, the University of Denver, not a big player, D1 or someone that you know about nationally. I think they have a pretty good very good hockey program. They made a deal with Superbook. And since then, the University of Maryland has a hookup with PointsBet also. And Caesars just blew all the pretense away with LSU. And they are the sports book of LSU athletics, where these other just corporate sponsor deals. And DraftKings has a non-sports tie-up with University of Nevada, Las Vegas, a sponsor. They're basically their gambling institute, their research, their think tank for gambling. There's a few. But Amy Howe, she is the CEO of FanDuel, was quoted in a Wall Street Journal story a couple of weeks ago saying that that's not anything that FanDuel is interested in. They think they should be hands off with that. They could always reverse course. The rich and the powerful change their mind if they think it could make them more rich.
Dollar signs are in front of that.
Yeah, they can make them more rich and more powerful. But it will certainly be foisted back in her direction if they do change tack, because she said that's not something they are interested in, and a lot of praise was sent their way for, saying that is they shouldn't be getting near, these potentially, vulnerable populations of kids.
Now, our job obviously is to deliver this information to you, the listener and the viewer, but sometimes we get to give our opinions on such things, especially on shows like this. So, Brant, I'm going to ask you the question. How do you feel about that? Do you think that casino operators and sportsbooks should be involved with universities or through partnership or whatever it is?
No, I don't necessarily think so. I support your right and my right to drink a beer, or if that bottle is still over your shoulder, still to partake in that. And but you don't want to subject minors to that. I mean, they're not babies, but it's the law. Their day will come for this. There was the case at LSU where a whole bunch of undergrads were part of an email blast from Caesars. It might have been sending out promo codes, or it was just basically saying, hey, we're Caesars and we're the official sports book of the Tigers. Yay, go team. Just don't do it. You just create a buffer. Again, this is our business. We support it. We're adults. Adults get to do this. Just don't dangle it in front of the kids. Yes, we know that they do dumbass things. We did it too. Just let them have their time to marinate and go and do what other dumb things they're going to do in college. And let's not even create the temptation at this point. It's great for the adults, the older, the junior seniors, maybe the postdoc guys,
grad students.
Just don't muddy the water here.
I am with you 100% in that it shouldn't be like a branded partnership thing. These kids are going to find it on their own anyways, especially like in a state, DePaul here, for instance, or anything that we have online sports betting. You don't need it advertised on the campus or anything like that. I do think that kids are also smart enough these days where if they wanted to, murky up the waters with some type of algorithm to try to figure out best bets or anything like that. They're going to do it anyways. You don't need to again, throw that advertisement in their face. But much like you said, especially for those athletes who, may try to, not saying that they're doing it, but just scam their way, place a bet, do something like that. That's kind of where it really impacts and could potentially hurt people's careers and futures if they're caught doing those type of things. But yeah, I'm with you 100%. I don't think it needs to be advertised on college campuses and be the official partner of this. I'm 100% down with what FanDuel said. But again, as we said, at the end of the day, you throw enough dollar signs there, deals are going to happen.
I mean, we're not naive to this. I knew it. I'm sure you knew guys in school who had a guy or they had a website and they're going to do it. But so let's just. We don't need to monetize the mainstream, and not everything needs to have a logo on it anyway. So I just create that DMZ. It's better for the industry. It's probably better for the kids. If they're inclined to go seek it, they're going to go seek it. Let's not dangle it.
Yeah. For our final topic of conversation, there was a story that was written over on HeyUSA that, again, we'll link all these in the description for you. But Carnival Cruise is finally going to allow its customers on a maiden voyage or wherever to place online bets with BetMGM, which is it's a tricky thing in that international waters, depending on where the boat dock leaves from, all sorts of moving parts, but essentially, I don't know. Have you ever been on a cruise before?
No, I've not, because my wife is incredibly car sick. She can't read in the car or ride backwards on the metro. So no, I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to go by myself if I do.
Yeah, this was back, freshman of college, high school days, been on a cruise, but essentially they got these tiny little casinos in cruise ships, and it looks slot machines, table games, the works. It's in there. So I'm assuming that they'll be able to now build out a sportsbook lounge. It doesn't sound like they're going to be able to take physical bets, but if you wanted to sit there, watch the game, get a beer, have a drink, and then pull out your phone, they would have the capabilities of letting you place bets while out on international waters. How it all works, anything like that, that's still moving parts, how they're going to figure that out. But it appears that in the not too distant future, if you decide to ever hop on one of those cruise ships again, I don't know if I'll be doing it anytime soon, but you can maybe win a couple bucks while you're at it. Get some of your money back.
Yeah. It's work off that buffet. It's interesting because I did a story about a year and a half ago. Princess Cruise Lines was the first one to do this. It was introduced, and I think they called it their medallion class, and they weren't going to have a physical sports book either. Basically, it was just you downloaded an extra app, and their platform provider was a company that, unless you're a wonk in this, was called Miomni, one of the lesser known players. I mean, they have a lot of clients, but they're one of the lesser known players. This BetMGM deal for Carnival also owns Holland America and Princess. So I would assume that BetMGM is going to become the sports book of all of these, and it's going to take the place of the Ocean Sportsbook. Yeah, the story that I wrote. Please go click it if you have any interest in this. Obviously, they have to get upwards of 5 miles out, and just as Nick said, when they would throw open the casino door, that's when they can flip the switch on sports betting. There's been some debates back and forth about how far out you need to be. I mean, I don't think the Coast Guard's going to be out there with binoculars seeing if anybody. I mean, they can be on Instagram or they can be placing a bet. I don't know how you track it, but there's an interesting history in this. And as you mentioned, I think there's going to be 50 ships in this new deal that are going to be equipped or rolled out at some point. Most of the cruise ships go out of Florida or they go out of California, so you're not allowed to legally do it while you're sitting there in the dock. You're going to have to wait until LA or Miami are twinkling in the distance before you're able to do this legally, if you want to. I mean, maybe you're so into whacking golf balls off the Lido deck or whatever else people who get to go on cruises do that you don't care. I don't know.
I mean, things it's been over a decade since I've been on a cruise, and I do remember the internet wasn't the best, even with paid and plugged directly into the matrix. The internet was still spotty at best, especially when you're just miles away in open ocean. So I'm going to be probably one of those people that's going to be suspicious on how well it's going to work. I mean, you got to get some serious tech and have some serious internet in there, especially if you're going to be trying to do some in-game betting, because that stuff's going to be very hard. The lag, it may be treacherous to begin with. Yeah. But I'll be interested to see if they get it done, how they get it done. It could pave the way for some other things. So that'll be pretty interesting, and we'll follow that as it develops.
Yeah, you probably get the dabblers at the bar waiting for their delicious slow gin fizzy or ridiculously tall, whatever margarita. Just flip.
Yeah. Anyhow, I mean, this episode we kind of just want to fill you guys in with some stories that we're following and stuff like that. Brant, do you have anything else to add before we head out for the day?
Did I mention I was almost attacked by a bear?
I was afraid of the bear. I didn't want to close the car door.
Ken, run down here with these pots. That little booger was pulling at my weather stripping.
With that, be sure and follow, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. If you have any questions, let us know. Anything that you want us to chat about in future episodes. And we will catch you guys next week. Go Sox.